And so the next thing that I want to talk about, it's very important to me because I have a 5-year-old daughter and they seem to be targeting the kids with a lot of these poisonous foods, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. It's my assumption that it is intentional, but you can make your own assumptions on that. One of the things that really bothers me is the addition of the high fructose corn syrup and the red 40 dye and the other color dyes that are in all the foods. That's something that you should definitely be paying attention to. A lot of cheaper foods do have high fructose corn syrup, but the damage that you're doing to your body from eating all that is astronomical. That's what really leads to the blood sugar problems, the blood pressure issues, the diabetes and all that. Is a lot of this is like a super refined sugar. It comes from corn. Corn is subsidized by the government. We can look into that a little bit more. That's something that's done to keep us fed, but it has no nutrient density whatsoever, and it's the most heavily sprayed crop with the Roundup and the Monsanto. It's easy to genetically modify corn. Is probably one of the worst things that you could be eating, that GMO corn. But anyway, the high fructose corn syrup, the red dyes, the like all the color dyes and everything. So I noticed pretty early on with my daughter that whenever we would give her like Kool-Aid or fruit punch or anything with red 40 in it, that shortly after, like 5-10 minutes later, she would be either super emotional and just, everything upset her, or she'd be super irritable or just unable to pay attention. It's one of those things that causes ADHD in kids. Pay attention to what your kids are eating if they're acting all crazy. The high fructose corn syrup and the dyes, it just takes a little amount of that and it's in their system, and then they're just going crazy. And a lot of people can't figure out, like, why are my kids gaining so much weight? Why are my kids not able to pay attention? Why is my kid having a learning problem? Literally, if you send your kid to school with a Pop Tart or anything, any breakfast that's got this high fructose in it, they won't be able to pay attention in their first couple classes. It's not worth it. It is cheaper, but there are ways to go about that. A lot of it is meal prepping. Whenever I make a big meal, I try to make a lot of it and I section it out into portions. And not everybody likes to eat leftovers, but it's better than spending a whole bunch of money, because if you want to eat healthier, you have to get away from all these super packaged, super processed foods. Even the healthy stuff, it's still processed. So you really got to dig deep and kind of find what natural, non-GMO, healthy alternatives work well to keep you sustained. And then you can kind of you can kind of cheat a little bit here and there, however you see fit. But if your main root meals are all protein filled, they don't have a bunch of pesticides in them, you're going to do a lot better than somebody who at every single meal is eating these processed foods. Now, the meat's just as bad. So a lot of the meat, you guys, a lot of people have watched like the food documentaries and everything. So if you have it, basically where your meat comes from are these giant farms that keep the animals in terrible conditions. They cramp them up. They're fearful their whole lives. A lot of times, the chickens, they live in these little tiny cells. They feed them to 3 times their size. They inject them with steroids. They can't walk. They cut their beaks. It's crazy. Go check it out. Food Inc. or any of those food documentaries that show you the inside of what's going on. Now, a lot of people take that and they're like, well, what do I do? I have to eat, There are other options. Myself, I've taken to eating meat or chicken once or twice. I substitute like a week, and I substitute seafood in there a couple nights a week. I have a high protein diet. I eat a lot of legumes. I eat a lot of peanut butter, a lot of things that have a high natural protein in them. And then maybe once a week I'll have some steak or like a red meat, and it's always Wagyu steak. If you don't buy so much meat, you can afford to buy smaller amounts of better stuff that is grass fed, that is treated humanely. This is just my perspective. Some people are completely against any type of meat. That is your decision to make on your own. One day I might think differently. One day I might be a full carnivore. Probably not. But, this is the phase that I'm in right now. And I know a lot of people do like to eat meat and people don't want to give up their meat. But you got to understand that the meat that they're feeding you, that you're getting in these packages with the big old chicken thighs, this is from a chicken that's just been fed corn and steroids his whole life. And even if it says antibiotic free or whatever, you want to get chicken that has been fed real food, stuff that is free range, stuff that gets sunlight. If you're going to eat beef, you want to eat stuff that ate grass its whole life from the baby to slaughter. You want to eat stuff that isn't being pumped full of the genetically modified corn. So even if you're eating this meat, you're basically eating the pesticides because this animal ate the pesticides its whole life. It got terrible. Like if you believe in energy or anything like that, transfer of energy, think about an animal that lives a full, healthy life, got all the sunlight, all the water, all the green food that it needed, was able to run and get the blood flowing, get the nutrients flowing through its body, versus something that just sat there and took on a bunch of corn and gained a bunch of fat and had fear. Fear increases cortisol. That cortisol transfers over to you. You end up getting stress from the cortisol from the animal that you just ate because it was such horrible. It's a bad all the way around. So you really got to pay attention to what kind of meat you're putting in your body. There's all types of alternatives too. If you just want to give up meat completely, it's perfectly feasible. I live a really active lifestyle. I go on long runs. I work out. I try to stay healthy. I'm not saying that that's not possible on a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. I just feel like the extra B vitamins and stuff and the respect that I show to the animals, I feel like it evens out and it allows me to function better. But anyway, um, so the meat's bad, and then like really, yeah, pay attention to your kids because you know they go to school and they go to a friend's house, anything like that. It's all around. Just educate them, let them know that they have a choice. Um, Obviously, if a kid's hungry, they're gonna eat whatever's around them. So just try to start small, I guess. The whole thing with all this is it's not something that you can really change overnight. So don't get overwhelmed and don't feel like you have to just make this huge change real quick. If you're somebody who does that kind of thing, then all the power to you. But most people, need to incorporate things slowly. Start drinking more water, figure out where your water's coming from, start implementing organic versions of the food that you already eat. Maybe figure out like, okay, am I eating white bread, breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Maybe try to figure out a different kind of sustainable carb, and so there's all different ways to manage this, from the growing the food to just reading the labels and being like, okay, well, this over here has this applesauce has high fructose corn syrup in it, and this one has sugar in it. It's that simple. It might be a couple cents more, but in the long run, you're not you're lowering your chances of being a pawn to this system that just wants to use you and squeeze you for anything that you've got. It's just a way for you to step out of line, to the grand order of nature and for the system of Babylon to take over you. That's all it is. The food is not it's most of the food that's out there is not serving you. So if you just take the little bit of information that I've given here, hopefully it's stuff that you don't know, and if it is, maybe it helps you to open your eyes a little bit more, and just go and take that and just apply it. Just think about it when you're grocery shopping. When you see your kid sucking down a Hawaiian punch, just realize that there are alternatives, and that you just got to look a little bit deeper into it. Go through the shelves and see how many items have corn ingredients. It like corn syrup solids, maltodextrin, and all these things coming from the GMO corn. And look at the little package that you get your food in. If it's got the non-GMO sticker, the little green sticker, chances are it's going to be healthier for you than something that says made with bioengineered ingredients on the bottom. If it says bioengineered ingredients, that means that they had to bioengineer a plant so that way they could spray it with a ton of chemicals so that way it would stay alive and produce bigger crops and it wouldn't be affected by any bugs versus using natural means as the organic growers do, such as neem oil and these things that are not synthetic, that are really just against nature. People talk about organic still having pesticides from the runoff. Would you rather something that might have some runoff water or something that's sprayed from above by helicopters and planes that is completely soaked in this stuff? We have to make some compromises here. We're in a state, we're in a place where we don't have so many options, but the options are there. You just got to be aware. But until next time, thank you guys. Again, my name is Joe. This is the Crystal Alchemy podcast, and hope everybody has a wonderful day.